coming out.
I'm working on it. Who's this?
Dude, it's Arthur Knowledge. You know, savior of the Geekverse?
Huh?
You saved me from Razor.
I did? Hang on, I got another call.
Wait, what do you know about the Geek Run Empire?
Hello?
Hey, Jacula. Not that I'm alarmed or anything, but, why did Earth declare war on you?
Oh, is that what that is? Well, that's good. I thought I was gonna have to take the castle into the shop again. What?
Well, isn't Earth declaring planetary war against your people kind of a big deal?
No! What's a big deal is that you're disturbing my torpor. I need at least a week to recuperate after Halloween, and
It's December.
it is...
Yeah, and apparently while you were in torpor, you saved Arthur's life and you shot Cricken.
Oh yeah, I did do that. Computer activates stabilization field.
System starting up.
So when's the next episode coming out?
It's coming, and... How did you get my number in the first place?
Oh, I have my ways. Dark, mysterious ways, the likes of which would tear your sanity.
He found your LinkedIn page.
Silence or no more ponies.
What?
Count Jacula.
Yes, sir!
We have been watching your progress for some time, and we are most displeased.
But these movies, they're doing things to my mind. They're so bad.
I am afraid I must remind you of your duties. You fail to consider that they're not bad movies, just misunderstood. I must ask you now to recite the Insomniac's Oath. Please assume the position and repeat after Mr. Lobo. I, as an initiated member of the Sleepless Nights of Insomnia, do solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear to watch the movie,
the whole
movie,
and nothing but the movie.
So help me, Mr. Lobo.
Mr. Lobo, you may stand down. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce Deathbed, the bed that eats.
Hey, you can't introduce my show! Yeah, it's Deathbed, the bed that eats.
Yes, tonight we're looking at Deathbed, the Bed That Eats, a film you might recognize from a Patton Oswalt bit.
I'm trying to write movies. It's fucking hard, man. And it got even harder this year because they released a movie on DVD. It was made in 1977. They never released it. It just now got put out on DVD this year, and it's called Deathbed.
Now you might think you know what you're in for when you sit down to watch a movie called Deathbed, the Bed That Eats, but like Oswald, you'd be wrong. Dead wrong. In fact, in his comedy bit, Oswald is incorrect about nearly every detail of this film. First off, he gets the title of the movie wrong.
Go IMDb this. This is a real movie. Deathbed, the bed that eats people.
Well, obviously he's not watching this review, because if he were, he would know the title of the movie is not Deathbed, the bed that eats people, but simply Deathbed, the bed that eats. He then goes on to say,
And it's about a bed that's evil and it eats people. That's the whole movie.
oh, if only it were that simple. As you'll see, this movie is many things, but simple it ain't. He also jokes that nobody associated with this movie did anything worthwhile and probably ended up turning tricks in a bus stop with
50 dicks in his ass like the tail of a peacock.
Oh, Patton, you couldn't be more wrong. But finally, and most irritatingly of all, is that he's wrong about the backstory of the deathbed.
And the backstory is like the 1500s. There's a demon. The guy kills the demon with a sword. The demon's blood gets on the bed. Now the bed's possessed. Go to present day, 77. When people fuck on the bed kills them because it's evil.
Get this. The real origin of the bed is that a demon living in a tree turns into a breeze, seduces a young girl to have sex with her on a bed he creates with magic, accidentally fucks her to death, and then cries tears of blood which drop upon the bed and give it unholy life. Oh, but we're not done yet. 'Cause once he's done crying tears of blood, he retreats back to the tree where once every 10 years he sleeps, thus diminishing the power of the deathbed for some reason. That is so overwrought and complicated that I think it's giving me a brain aneurysm. And I'm gonna call it blood clot. The clot. Well, let's start this review at the beginning. The movie opens up properly with Aw, dang it! I put in the wrong DVD again. This is the 70s era interactive porn flick Eat Film, the film that eats out. And eat out it does, for not only does it have a weird preoccupation with lesbians, the movie itself is separated into breakfast, lunch, dinner, and just desserts. It's like some weird Yakov Smirnoff bit. In Russia, film eats you. Anyway, our movie eventually remembers that films are a visual medium, and we finally get our first piece of real dialogue.
I've been in prison behind my painting in this limbo for 60 years now since my death.
Wait, stop. Before we go any further, I seriously gotta ask everyone a question. Given the title of the movie, would you suspect that the main character would be A, the creator, perhaps owner of the deathbed, B, a group of horny teenagers who've come to have sex on the bed, or C, perhaps the deathbed itself? I'll give you a minute. Time's up. The answer is wrong! Because never in a million years would you guess the ghost of Aubrey Beardsley. You heard me right. I'm not kidding either. Sure, the end credits only refer to him as the artist, but check the back of the fucking DVD cover. It's the ghost of Aubrey fucking Beardsley. For those of you who don't know, Aubrey Beardsley was a 19th century English illustrator who was famous for emphasizing the erotic, the grotesque, and the decadent. Demons, orgies, and other pagan activities were often subjects of his work. You have to admit, in a weird way, he's the perfect historical figure to be narrating a movie about a killer bed that eats people who have sex on it. And the actor here kinda nails the look. Anyway, let's not make a meal of the issues here. A young couple arrive to break into the mansion in order to have sex on the titular deathbed. I don't know what this couple are into, but when you bring a bottle of cheap wine and KFC, you know you're in for a wild night. As expected, the deathbed eats them, but not before stealing their food and drinking their wine. This bed is like the worst roommate ever. The one that eats your food, drinks your booze, and then cockblocks you by eating your date. Oh, by the way, if a guy named Dahmer ever answers your roommate wanted ad, do not rent to him. Still owes me the fucking security deposit. Nice of the bed to show us those coming attractions, but now it's time for the main feature. Oh, god damn it. I put in the wrong movie again. Turns out, this bed not only sleeps, it dreams. Dreams of what, you may ask? Well, what every deathbed that lives in a small town dreams of. Going to the big city and eating the mayor. Huh. Funny. After that opening scene, you'd think he'd be more interested in eating the colonel. Speaking of eating out, it's time to introduce some lesbians.
Incredible.
It's also time to realize that everyone in this movie talks in voiceover.
I wonder where this house is supposed to be. These people had a place to die. They must have had a place to live, too.
Brilliant deduction? I got a few more words of insight for you. These people had a place to eat. They must have had a place to shit. Hey, how about this? These people had a place to sit, so they must have had a place to stand. Or how about this? These people have graves, so they must have coffins which perfectly preserve their bodies for hundreds of years. What the hell? Okay, for those of you who couldn't get it from the overly complicated origin story, this is the woman the demon who made the deathbed killed by fucking to death. Believe it or not, this is actually an important plot point. But forget that. It's time for the lesbians to get to the deathbed. Any minute now. Any minute. Okay, movie. We can wait as long as you can. You know, the longer I look at this scene, the more it looks like an Irish Spring commercial. Irish Spring leaves you fresh as a young lesbian's vagina. Speaking of vaginas, it turns out that when this girl touches the deathbed, it causes it to have a heavy flow day. Well, obviously, to explain this, we're gonna have to go through the entire history of the deathbed first. Turns out, the bed has been owned by crooked sex therapists, gangsters, old lesbians, I particularly like the title of this porno mag she's got, and a priest. Now stop. Take a look. This is the guy that built the prop of the deathbed. Now, what was it Patton Oswalt said about this guy?
He's blowing guys in bus stations all day. 50 dicks in his ass like the tail of a peacock.
Yeah, well, sorry to disappoint Patton, but this guy's name is Jock Brandis, which is one of the manliest names I've ever heard. He's worked on a lot of other horror films, usually as a gaffer, most notably on The Dead Zone, Scanners, Videodrome, and Blue Velvet. He is also wanted in Nigeria on charges of air piracy. No joke, it turns out this guy illegally ran military blockades into Biafra to rescue starving children. Now, you might be tempted to call bullshit, but it is backed up by two important sources. The first one is a writer named Kurt Vonnegut. The second is the Nigerian government who tried him in absentia. Later in life, Jock would develop an inexpensive peanut sheller in Africa in order to continue his efforts to end world hunger. So take a look at that face. That is the face of a man who is more impressive and important to the world than you or I will ever be, being eaten by a killer bed. And no, the irony of a man who's dedicated his entire life to ending world hunger, working on a killer bed that eats people, is not lost on me. Well, let's get back to the important information as to why this girl makes the bed bleed. Turns out, this girl reminds the deathbed of the woman the demon was trying to seduce. The woman who the demon cries tears of blood over when he fucks her to death. So basically, it can't just eat her because it reminds him of his mother. I'm not kidding either. Listen.
Her eyes remind you of her eyes, of the one who gave you life. The terror was there, Not even you could swallow down your own mother without a thought.
It's true. Just ask Joyce Flint. Anyway, one of the girls gets eaten by the bed and the other two go looking for her. Not finding her anywhere, they decide that one of them should drive back to town while the other one stays behind in case she turns up. It's here that this girl lies down on the bed and begins to dream.
Where have you been? We've been looking all over for you. What have you been reading that we couldn't find you? A book of dead people. I'm in it, and you are too. I'm not in here. There's nothing in here.
Well, there's your problem. Hard to read something when it's on fire. After the dream sequence, she, of course, gets eaten.
Get on with it! Man, Deathbed's a dick. But not racist.
Anyway, the other girl comes back just in time to watch her friend finally get eaten. She then goes insane and sits in the corner. That is, until her brother shows up and has a brilliant idea. He'll stab the bed. Needless to say, this doesn't go according to plan.
Great.
Yeah, I can relate.
Hold me.
I can't! So finally we get to the just dessert, where because the demon that created the bed finally takes its once-in-a-10-year nap, the artist is able to instruct the girl on how to kill the deathbed. And just like the bed's origin, this thing is completely convoluted. Get this. First she has to lead her brother outside, build a circle of wood, draw a circle of blood around the bed, take her brother's finger bones and a strand of her dead friend's hair to complete the circle, which catches on fire, transporting the bed to the circle outside. The girl then dies, freeing the undead woman from her grave outside and turning her gravestone into the best crucifix ever! Yea, I have prayed to you these many years, and though many have laughed at me for my faith, I know truly this is a sign. Where are we? Oh yeah, so the undead woman gets out of her grave, fucks the brother, which causes the bed to ignite. This bed is on fire with passion and love. This not only destroys the bed, but frees the artist, which was his plan all along. Man, everyone in this movie is kind of a dick. Except for you, Jock. You still rule. And that's it. That's the end of the movie. Final thoughts? I'll be honest, I fucking love this movie. The whole thing is so overthought, bizarre, and imaginative that if it had been released when it was made, it would be hailed as the true classic that it deserves to be. Shot in 1972 by George Barry, it wasn't finished until 1977, and then was never officially released until 2003, when, according to legend, a bootleg was located. A fruitless search commenced for the creators of the film, but since the movie had no credits, the search went cold. That is until the director himself found mention of his forgotten movie on an internet forum. Turns out that since Barry had found it impossible to find a distributor for the film back in the 70s, he abandoned his filmmaking aspirations, which is a real shame because despite its flaws, this film contains a spark of true genius. It's like the bastard child of Wes Craven and Ingmar Bergman, and if it had been recognized as such, I have no doubt Barry's career would have been illustrious.
And that's all I have to say about Deathbed. Speaking of beds, sleeping mine. Fucking got a crick in my neck from sleeping on this table for 3 months.
Yeah, that's right. I have a bed outside. Oh, crap.
Well, at least he's been spared the remake.